hustle, 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 eat 2-minute noodles and drink protein powder to survive. That's just bullshit. That is just bullshit. Welcome to the Growth Beyond Hustle podcast.
Today, we are talking about something that can completely transform your business. Welcome to the Growth Beyond Hustle podcast. Today, we're diving into the myth of hustle, why working less can help you achieve more. I'm Adrian Lee, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Kristian Livolsi. Welcome, Kristian. Great to have you here, man. Now, before we start chatting today, we're going to be breaking down why the hustle culture doesn't always lead to success, how overworking can hold you back, and the strategies that you can use to create sustainable growth without burning out. Now, Kristian, let's dive into the topic that's bound to challenge the way many of our listeners approach their work, the myth of hustle. There's this idea out there that success comes from grinding 24/7. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Hey, Adrian, it's really good to be here with you, jamming on what is our very first episode. So this is epic. I think we're up to take 35, which is pretty awesome just for the intro. No, just kidding out there for all of our listeners. Look, I think we've all been there, right? Believing that the harder and the longer we work, the more successful we'll be, right? Or become. But the truth is, hustle culture often leads to burnout, inefficiency, and in my professional opinion, even lower performance.
That's interesting you say burnout. You actually wrote a book about burnout. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
I did. I wrote, it was originally a very small lead magnet, as we call it in our world, a way to attract and get people in. And then eventually I started working on it on a deeper scale, having had 3 major burnouts in my life. It took me, a week to recover from the first one, 3 days from the second one, and 1 day from the third one. It's like a muscle. You get more resilient every single time. And this was very early on in my career, so not now. And that's that's actually one of the major motivations for us to have started this podcast, was to be able to share our insights and our abilities and what we've learned over the years as coaches, consultants. You mainly as a coach, me as a consultant and advisor. So hopefully we can translate all of those experiences into the truths on this podcast. So yeah, I mean, look, the burnout book was a guide turned into a book. It's a very short book. I don't even know how many pages it is, probably 50, 60 pages. So enough to quickly get through, but it's really practical and convenient. And, occasionally we'll put it out there for people to have a look at. We don't have it actually for sale because it's too small, but it gives really good insights. And there's a lot of academic research that I put into it as I was padding it out. You know me, I can't stop when I start. It's just got to get deeper and deeper.
Dude, why do you think the hustle culture became so pervasive? Is it a society or social media or something else that's driving this belief?
Oh, look, Adrian, I think it's a combination of factors. Social media glorifies the always-on entrepreneurial lifestyle. And I guess we've also been conditioned to the term of busyness. And busyness does not equate to productivity. I wrote a whole paper on this, and there's going to be a theme here. I tend to write a lot. But as we know, being busy doesn't always mean being effective. And I think so many people walk around today, particularly business owners, and go, well, I'm busy. I know that in my consultancy calls, in our group programs, if someone says the word busy, I basically shoot them down and take them offline. Because I'm a big believer that being busy isn't enough. You've got to be productive and you've got to be effective. And so I think the real challenge is that hustle has been glorified. I remember when we opened up our media business, Media Sociale, back in 2015, we decked out, a 200 square meter office space like a warehouse. And Lucy, who, my wife, who's the head of the graphic design department, but also a fabulous artist, actually did these wicked murals all over the walls. So we painted all the walls black, and it was a black and white theme in the office, even though our brand color was blue, right? Figure that. Bunch of startup guys trying to be cool. And And what we did is we painted murals in the all over the office in black with then white. And one thing was go yeah, hustle hard. And I remember looking at that for years. And, obviously, but our listeners won't know, I used to be the entrepreneur in resident of a Sandstone University. And I ran an incubator, and I've been involved in a few other incubators over time and been a speaker at these places. And, in the startup culture, it is like hustle, 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 drink, eat 2 minute noodles and drink protein powder to survive. That's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. And that was one of the biggest things that I changed when I worked at Think Lab, as the entrepreneur in resident. And it was like, no, you don't have to eat 2 minute noodles and drink protein powder. You need a proper fucking strategy, and you need to pull your head out of your ass. But that is unfortunately what's happened. So everyone believes that they got to work 85 hours a week to make it work. That's bullshit. And the other culture that's being developed is, you need an energy drink to keep going. That's bullshit. You and I basically we don't even drink coffee. And you're a fucking energizer bunny. You just keep bouncing. So, I think all that. There's other ways and means, man.
Mm. Well, I must be truthful here. I actually do drink coffee a couple of days. So, but the good thing though, Kristian, that you'll love is I have some brain performance supplements that I use to really stimulate that big head of mine. So,
Is that how you curate those eyebrows?
well, yes. Shall we have a look? They are pretty perfect, aren't they? They're natural, by the way. Anyway, dude, I couldn't agree with you more. And what is really interesting, and I always like to bring this back to fitness as well, is like overworking can actually decrease your productivity, right? So, did you know that productivity starts to decline after about 40 hours a week? And I look at this with working out. People think that the more you work out, the bigger you get and the more body fat you're going to lose. When at the end of the day, there's like a certain amount of stimulus that will increase, give you the results that you want. And so it can quite often become a case of diminishing returns.
Absolutely. Yeah, really good point there, man. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So, Kristian, have you ever experienced a moment where working less actually helped you achieve more?
Look, Adrian, definitely. Right. So there was a time when I was trying to do everything myself, managing clients, marketing, admin, and I was exhausted. And I don't make a lot of mistakes, but they were creeping in. And I then it was actually hang on a sec. Let's really rewind this. I was hiring a lot of humans around me, and that's how I solved that problem. And we're talking like 25, 30 years ago, uh, when I was in various industries. But it was actually when I met you that I uncovered the power of virtual assistants, and it wasn't about cost saving. It was actually about being more efficient and more effective. Outsourcing and delegating the minutia tasks. And I went from having 75 grand a year EA in my office to now having two virtual assistants for essentially 50 grand a year, 55. So I've got two people doing 3 or 4 times the amount of work. And it was actually you that got me into the virtual assistant landscape when you were coaching LinkedIn
Mm,
clients and you had your proprietary leeway when well, what was it? It was GrowthLink at the time. And I mean, we're going back 4 or 5 years ago before we actually, and it was like I was your client. And it was like night and day. Delegating freed my time to focus
mm.
on what I do best, which is strategy, and to grow not just my business faster, but the 85, 90 clients that we've got at any given time in the portfolio, in order for them to do it. And now we've been teaching our clients how to utilize that service too. So it's kind of this beautiful hedgehog, as Jim Collins calls it. When you've got this wonderful flywheel that just spins faster and faster, and makes things a reality.
Dude, that was a crazy, crazy times. And that for people who don't know, that was just a natural progression. I was literally just coaching people with LinkedIn and found out that they were time poor and they needed someone to implement the strategy. The man himself, he would be proud I'm saying the word strategy.
That's
Um,
right.
in, talking to a strategist and then implementing the strategy and then delegating the strategy. So, Kristian, let's give our listeners some actionable steps to escape the hustle trap. What's the first step for someone feeling overwhelmed and overworked?
Oh, first step. Well, prioritize ruthlessly, Adrian. Like
Okay.
people need to focus on what moves the needle in their business, right?
Mate, can I just touch this?
Yeah.
Just want to touch on that because a lot of people when they hear that, it's like a common theme they hear around so they can focus on moving the needle. But what does moving the needle really look like? Can you give us a couple of insights there?
Look, depending on the size and scale of your business, um, I mean, if you're a coach or a consultant, and you're in your early infancy and you're doing under 30 grand a month, then your priorities should be sales and marketing. They shouldn't be administration or even client onboarding, to be perfectly honest. Um, if you're a business that's doing, $1 to $2 million a year, and you're a bricks and mortar business, then again, if you are the founder of that business, then you definitely shouldn't be doing the bookkeeping. You shouldn't be answering the telephones. You shouldn't be, uh, you know, uh, at that point, nothing administrative, nothing client facing, unless you're also the head of sales,
Mhm.
which a lot of founders are, particularly those that have sales backgrounds. But that's kind of the things that move the needle forward. Does that make sense? So prioritize the things that are going to move forward. So for example, I got clients that are doing, between startup to $120 million, Adrian. The $120 million CEOs, who are also business owners, their priorities look very different to those of a startup founder.
Mm.
But the biggest part is that the $120 million CEO, his or her priority is essentially leadership, and that is the big thing they're working on. I think pretty much once you get over 10, 15 million as a founder, if you are in the CEO seat, you are leading. That's what you're doing. If you are, at the beginning of it all, then it's sales and marketing. Really, to me, I think until you hit the big numbers, depending on the business that you are at, then it's sales and marketing that you should focus on. That doesn't mean you have to do it, but it means that's where your focus is. So, Jamie from Aduco Gym, one of my clients, 11 locations. You also do some work with Jamie, and also Jamie's one of the growth outsourced clients. He's got a VA. There's no point in him managing his LinkedIn and his outreach strategy because he's busy managing 11 gyms in the group with 65 staff. Like there's absolutely zero benefit for him to do that. But even though that they're a big group in Ireland, they his focus is sales and marketing. We've got a general manager that manages operations and looks at the team, does the recruitment, and Jamie's major focus is sales and marketing. So that's to give you guys an idea. It doesn't matter where you are in the business, right? Play to your strengths too.
Mm.
So that's priorities. I think another actionable step is to delegate smartly,
Mm.
Adrian, and I think it's really important to use the word smartly at the end because so many people go, well, I delegate and people don't listen. Well, you're probably not delegating the right things, and then you're not actually explaining to people. You haven't got the SOPs. So things like outsource your admin, outsource your customer service, and all the other non-core tasks. So that
Mm.
kind of leads beautifully from from prioritizing. But another issue that I always see is people don't set enough boundaries.
Mm.
And so I always say to people, when you're looking at delegating, when you're looking at outsourcing, set boundaries. What's the limit of work hours? And make sure that you take breaks to recharge. I have focus time. I mean, that I work to a very stringent diary. Um, it's kind of time blocked to 10-minute intervals most of the times. I know when I'm going to be getting up to go to the bathroom. Even if I have to go to the bathroom, I'll sit there profusely and shake my legs until the time says You now can go. I almost should just have my own clock and have the Pomodoro method going at the same time. 20, 25 minute intervals. But look, you've got to you've got to have the breaks to recharge. And I guess that the Pomodoro method leads me to my next actionable item, which is adopt time blocking. Right.
Mhm.
So plan your day to maximize the focus on the high level impact activities, because that's what will give you the best runs for your money. So, for me, balancing group advisory and one-on-one advisory and strategy days. You know, at the moment, I had a client who rang me and said, "Hey, Kristian, I'd like to do this year's strategy workshop. What have you got?" I said, "April." And they were like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, April, because we're going to need 2 days, and I don't have two back-to-back days until April." I said, my EA's been chasing you for 2 months to find a date, and everyone else got in beforehand.
Mm.
And much begrudgingly, they took the April date. But this is this is an organization I've been working with for 4 years, and we normally do a strategic plan every three, but we've had so much success that we're now reviewing it every year, and that's why we're not in a hurry to do it.
Mm.
I think, look, the other thing is invest in systems, Adrian. Like, use automation tools to streamline repetitive processes as much as possible. There's no point in sending out, if you've got a database of 500 people and you're sending out 500 emails one by one, that's pretty stupid. So, get yourself a basic CRM. Some are even free when you've only got an email list of 500. If you've got an email list of 50,000, then you got to be doing your homework, because they can become very expensive. And, the power of email diminishes each year, but it's still one of the most powerful um, communication mediums and sales mediums on the planet, regardless of its diminishing value.
Mm.
And I think the final part that I think is really important for people as an actionable step, Adrian, is the mindset shift that's
Mm.
required, man. You know, um, so many people stay stuck in hustle, and it's like, mate, you don't need to do it. And that's why I think at the beginning of the conversation it was really easy, and that's why I used my experience at the university and in other startup incubators. In my time even advising, VC led organizations that have raised millions and millions and millions of dollars. I got a couple on the books at the moment. The VCs won't give these guys support. So lucky they found me, and they're like, "Okay, come and talk to us." And then I look at them and I'm like, "You got to shift your fucking mindset, mate. Like, you're in the wrong headspace, and this is why the VCs can't help you."
Mm.
Right? Oh, but they're just giving me targets, and I got to hit the targets. Yeah, of course, they've given you $10 million. They want a return on their investment. But if you're not communicating that because you're just too passionate about your startup or your business,
Mm.
right? And you're stuck doing the shit jobs that you don't want to do, how are you going to lead your team? Right now, that's no different. We're talking about a startup with money. What about if you are a coach and consultant? You're doing 20 grand a month. You don't really have the resource to go out and hire a whole bunch of people, but you got the ability to change your mindset. You got the ability to invest in some systems. You got the ability to time block. You got the ability to set boundaries for yourselves. You got ability to delegate smartly and to prioritize ruthlessly. Right. So that's the mindset shift, taking back those steps that I've just articulated to you guys, and bringing them back to the forefront, dude.
Dude, I freaking love those steps and a big fan of the mindset shift. Another book written by you, The Growth Mindset. Hey, you just love writing books.
Yeah, no, the growth mindset was actually written by Caroline Dwake. I wrote the introduction to a business growth mindset.
That's the one.
Yeah, look, I can't take credit for her PhD, but no, yeah, definitely, yeah, it was amazing. It was my first ever book. Um, Someone with dyslexia and ADHD writing a book is a bit of a challenge. Uh, but I did it. Now we've released two since then, smaller ones, and then obviously the really smaller ebooks, like the Burnout book, and then the Full Metal Jacket is coming out probably the end of the year, which is a book all about resilience and a specific moment in my life where I was under siege, and I wrote a whole bunch of letters at that time to get me through it. That then turned into a blog. I'm now putting that together and turning it into a book. It's a bit of a joy. And then probably my prize jewel that's coming out in the next couple of months, which is the Customers on Demand, the secret sauce to how to make money. So that is practical and, a real life application as we know it. So I want to turn a lot of people into millionaires, and that's the book that I've kind of put all of the good stuff on how to make money. So it's all about attraction and conversion, and it's super cool.
Dude, I'm super pumped to be able to read Customers on Demand. Being part of that journey with you, it's going to be no doubt very insightful. Kristian, this has been a powerful conversation, mate. For our listeners, remember, hustling doesn't guarantee success. In fact, stepping back and working less can actually help you achieve more.
Exactly. And if you're feeling stuck in the hustle mindset, and take one step today, whether it's delegating a task, scheduling some downtime, or just reevaluating your priorities, right? That's, it's pretty simple.
Exactly. So subscribe to Growth Beyond Hustle for more insights and strategies to grow smarter, not harder. And if you're ready to free yourself from the grind, check out our resources on virtual assistants and smart delegation at Growth Outsourced.
All right. So thanks everybody for dialing in. We have no idea how long that went for, but that was epic. And we'll see you all next week. Cheers.
Boom. Chat soon.
That's a wrap on this episode of Growth Beyond Hustle. We hope you got some real value out of today's conversation on protecting your time and energy. And remember, saying no isn't about shutting doors, it's about making space for the right opportunities. The more you set boundaries, the more you find yourself focused, productive, and in control of your business. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss another episode. If you're ready to free up your time, stop wearing all the hats, check out Growth Outsourced, our trained virtual assistants, and take those repetitive tasks off your plate so you can focus on what truly matters.